I'm Dan Carney, and it is Gold Medal Day on the Speedskating Video Podcast. So a lot of times when I do my intros, I say things about a person's history and I cue things up and then I announce their name. And today I'm just going to say we have Olympic gold medal winner Erin Jackson and her famous wakeboarding coach Ryan Shimabukuro, all the way from faraway Milwaukee. Welcome.
Thanks, Dan.
The first question I have for Erin is, how are you feeling today? Because I got to watch what Coach put you guys through yesterday, and it made me almost want to quit the sport.
Yeah, just a little bit sore, but yeah, it was a pretty good workout. That's one of my favorite workouts to do.
What were you guys doing? Was that 400s?
We were doing like kind of fast laps, just like fast single lappers.
Okay.
With 2 laps rest.
Oh, 2 laps. Okay, 400. Mm-hmm. All right. Yeah, it still looked brutal, but you guys look awesome as usual. So sometimes I like to start these out with some interesting facts or whatever. And today I have a quiz for both of you, and it's kind of weird, but I hope this is interesting. So the answer to the question is the number 14. And I'm wondering if either of you can tell me what the significance is of the number 14 as it relates to Erin.
Ryan's the stat guy.
Well, that's kind of interesting. I mean, do you know what it is, Erin? Do you know what he's referring to?
Nope.
I would imagine international medals on inline or on ice.
I'm going to tell you that you're not even warm.
Okay.
So
14.
This is good news for me. I'll give you one more chance, Ryan.
14. Huh. Could be anything.
It's very specific.
If it's something to do about her education, then
Nope.
I'm okay.
I'll give you a hint. It has everything to do with the gold medal that she won in February.
14. She's the 14th female gold medalist from the U.S.?
Nothing along those lines. It is the number of strokes that she laid down on the backstretch in that race.
Okay.
And it was curious to me because, most sprinters, it's usually 12, occasionally maybe 10. And I've watched a lot of Erin Jackson races from the past year, and it's always 12. And in that particular race, it was 15, and it really caught my attention. It made me wonder, was that a conversation you guys had before the race about the ice conditions? Was it something that you consciously did? And based on the fact that you're looking at me the way you are, it tells me that you were just trying to go fast.
Yeah, I guess it was just one of those days.
Yeah, I guess I
But I mean, that's down from the number of strokes I took at my first Olympic trials. That was probably like 28 or something.
On the backstretch?
Oh yeah, it was like a million strokes.
Oh, well, I'm gonna have to go find that footage somewhere. But
it wasn't 28, but the tempo was high.
Yeah,
No,
it was probably 16.
Yeah, I mean, I would have to count. It may not be as much as you think, though.
No.
It just seemed probably like it. And to address the stroke rate, we never really talk about how many strokes or counting strokes when you actually skate. It's more so the rhythm, and based on ice conditions, track pattern, who you're racing, and just obviously EJ's had one of her staples when she came over from inline was that she had a high tempo, and even though she's been able to slow down and skate more, especially from a lower position, she makes speed relatively comfortably with the high tempo. A lot of people on ice won't be able to do that, especially when they're already accelerated. So it's not something that I really wanted to change too much because it's inherently natural for her in a way she made speed. I would have so many people comment and send me private messages saying, if she just would slow down and stop running so much. And I'm like, you guys, she's skated and raced this way for, 20 something years that she was on inlines. Like, it would be detrimental to try and make her a traditional ice skater, even years down the road. Like,
Yeah.
she knows how to move her body and move fast. We just have to make it efficient and so forth. And if she can use the efficiency with the turnover, even better. So I never really tried to overcorrect and make it look traditional because I think it suits her.
Well, and part of the reason why I wanted to ask the question, I thought it was a fun thing, but more so for that particular race and that particular day, and I guess as it relates to a 500, once the pairs come out and you're focusing on the race, Erin, how much conversation do you have with Ryan about the strategy for that race and which lane you're in and which pair you are and who your pair is? What's the take us through that kind of conversation that you have?
For the 500, I guess there's not a whole lot of strategy that we go over with it. For a race like 1,000 to 15, we definitely go over the profile and everything like that. But for the 500, it's like go fast and keep going fast.
Yeah.
I mean, there's definitely differences with inner lane versus outer lane for how you start and how you finish. But I mean, I was pretty excited to hear that I had the second outer for the game, so it just kind of takes one thing out of the equation for me to think about. But yeah, I guess we don't really do a whole lot of strategy talk about that sort of thing.
Yeah, we more talk about, again, who her pair is based on the lane and, how, if she's going to get a chase or if she's going to be setting up the second outer turn coming off the first inner and what her line should be, and just focusing on some cues. But if she gets the first outer and she gets to go hunt down the backstretch, then we'll talk a little bit more on, where to be on the setup and, depending on who it is, it might be a close chase, it might be a far chase, based on opening speeds and so forth. So we go over maybe one or two scenarios just so that she's prepared to react in the moment. But yeah, I mean, 500 is you go and then go faster.
Yeah. Erin, do you have a preference, a lane preference in the 500, and has that changed at all over time?
Well, I mean, I like having first inner, but then I had a few first outers, and I kind of liked that chase too. But yeah, I think my preference is still first inner.
Okay.
Yeah, years ago she used to be like, "Oh, first outer," and I'm like, "What's wrong with first outer? You get to go hunting." Well,
the only thing bad about first outer is second inner.
Yeah.
Yeah, but as she's gotten, obviously her turns have gotten more efficient and effective. That's less and less of an issue.
Yeah.
And she's won on last inners as well.
So let's turn the clock back, and if we go back to that spring of 2017, you had gotten on the ice and you did a few time trials, and it seemed like, okay, now this is something that you wanted to give a shot at. That summer of 2017, were you in a regular training program at that time? Were you working with a team? Tell us about that summer.
Yeah, so 2017. I'm trying to remember where we went to Worlds that year for inline. I think that might have been China, Nanjing, China.
Right.
Yeah, I wouldn't say that I was on a really structured program when it came to inline, especially at that point. I did have a structured program before I went to college with inline, but then after that it just kind of became I would skate when I had time. I would drop into practices when I could, just sort of like that. So yeah, I wasn't on any particular program. But let's see, Ryan, I'm not sure if I even had anything from you at that point because I don't think I was officially committed to ice skating.
Yeah, but I had you on my email program list, and you would get the program, and then we would stay in touch that summer while you were getting ready for Worlds on stuff that you should be doing. And the volume wasn't that high. Because anything supplemental we did, it was just supplementation to what she was doing on her inlines, workouts that she had done in the past with her inline coach Renee, and yeah, it was just about making sure. Number one was just getting her strong in the position. I wanted to make sure that when she came back in the fall after the World Inline Championships, that the position was getting stronger and more stable. So a lot of the supplemental stuff we did was off skates and imitation type work.
Gotcha. And then, I guess what I would call the magic happened. I looked at all of your racing from that fall of 2017 leading up to Olympic trials. And I mean, even as recent as like in November, you still weren't breaking 41 and you were in Salt Lake. Then you did a 39.5 in December, but still at altitude. And then you came to Milwaukee and decided to go 39.2, 39.0. What in the world did you do in several weeks to make those kinds of leaps? Was it technical stuff? Do you even know? Was it just that you're a big game day player? I mean, what did you do, Erin?
I actually went on a cruise. I went on a cruise, and then when I came back, I was faster, and that's the truth.
Oh, come on, you're just making that up.
Ryan, am I making that up?
No, that's 100%. So back when she came back on the ice in September, mid-September after the inline worlds, it was about a week or two after that, she told me, "Hey, Ryan guy, I booked a cruise in December already. It's non-refundable and stuff like that." And I'm like, "EJ, that's the middle of the season. Like, what are you doing?" So I'm like, "Okay, it is what it is." So at that time, I was just like, we trained hard up to that point because I knew she was going to be off ice. She was going to be, again, in the sun. And at that point, I didn't know obviously too much about her physiology and how she responded to training, how she recovered, and so forth. So I took it at face value, and we just rolled with it. And obviously, when she came back, her nervous system was fresh. And the speed just came back from there. And after she skated PBs at Olympic trials, all the skaters were like, "Oh, I guess we're going on cruises right before big competitions." So.
Well, for the group of people out there that watch this podcast occasionally, we didn't discuss this ahead of time, so that was a complete I'll take my whole sheet and just throw it away now. So
no, but in all seriousness, Dan, she started to connect the dots really well. Timing of her strokes, chain of extension, getting pressure into the ice earlier, connecting the race profiles and all that. It started to come more consistently, and she started to understand. You could see the light bulb going off. And from race to race, she was able to retain the feeling and the experience and build off of it into the next race.
Yeah, well, clearly, but still, I mean, for those of us that are more on the sprinter profile and trying to find 0.3 of a second here and there, just chopping off that much in that short period of time is still. I mean, I was very happy that I was standing there when you crossed the line and launched yourself onto the team. That was a cool moment. So let's fast forward a little bit. So then into the next season, you got an opportunity to skate some World Cups. So it's kind of funny that you got into the sport, you went directly to the Olympics, and then you came back the next season like, oh, let's go do some World Cups. So what was that like? I mean, clearly from your background in rollers, it's not like international competition was new to you, but what did you learn out there in that first season?
Yeah, like my first season of World Cups, yeah, that was kind of a surprise too, I guess, because originally I was only going to go to World Cups 3 and 4. And then after the World Cup trials, they were like, oh, well, you're going to come to the first 2 World Cups too.
Mm.
And I don't know, that was kind of like a last minute decision to do all that. But I was super excited that I got to go. And it was just kind of a learning experience from day one. And like getting to race that many times internationally and just, I don't know, getting to learn something from each race was really big. Um, I don't know, because back then it's like racing was more of a blur, I guess. And then, I
Okay.
mean, like Ryan said, I had started to be able to retain things from race to race. But yeah, just kind of like feeling the difference from then to now with like how much I can, like how much I was kind of having to relearn for each race was kind of crazy. But yeah, just super big learning experience. Yeah, I loved it.
Well, I look at your career, and it's funny to call it a career because it's been so short, but there's been these moments where you had just significant, like, upshots of improvement. And when I looked at the fall of 2021, heading into the Olympic year, I mean, you PR'd 3 races in a row. Then you set a track record in Poland. Then you broke a national record, and you won 4 out of 8 races. I think 4 or 5. Um, I mean, do you have? I mean, when you look back at that little stretch, is there a specific thing that you feel like, again, that you connected, or how do you explain all this stuff here?
Yeah,
I want to
guess
know so I can apply it to me. This is all religious selfish because I'm so damn slow. That's all it is.
well, I mean, what I say all the time is that I feel like my job is kind of easy because all I do is just show up and listen to Ryan. Like he's the one coming up with all the good stuff, and I just show up and do it. But yeah, I mean, just listening to Ryan. I mean, he's always got me ready to go when I need to be fast.
Ryan, do you have anything to say about that?
Well, obviously, I mean, Erin's a skater. Anytime she's on any kind of skates, you know, even if it's the first time, she'll learn and figure it out. Yeah, it's more so to the process from the post 2018 Olympic year. It's been a gradual improvement, and my philosophy, at least I like to set up the skaters for sustained long term success and not just have a meteoric rise where the drop off can be very steep. And there's been some times where athletes don't recover from that. So, you know, with EJ having started later and constantly playing catch up for a while, it was more so of putting all the pieces together, the physiology, the technical, the mental, and the tactical. And she embraced all of it, and it never became overwhelming. I mean, I think she gives me too much credit because I think she should credit herself because she a lot of the times she makes my job easy because she's able to retain and decipher the information very well and apply it. And if she doesn't understand, she's good about asking follow-up questions that makes it easier for me to communicate and create this picture in her head of what I'm trying to accomplish in her skating.
Hmm. So, Erin, I'm going to put you on the spot now. So, I've got the national record race queued up here, and we're going to watch it together real quick. And it's a 500, so it's over fast, especially because you're skating. But what I'd love for you to do is kind of maybe look at the skating that you're doing here and tell us the things that you're doing well that you've really improved on in this short period of time.
Yeah, that's fun to watch. So I guess taking it from the beginning, on the start, working on getting in a nice dynamic position right from the line. Because in the past I've had some like pre-movements, I guess, where like when the gun goes off, I have a movement before I'm actually, you know, starting the race.
Yeah.
So yeah, just like trying to eliminate those as much as possible so that I'm already like set up and ready to go. And then, yeah, on the opener, working on, trying to get into the skating as quick as possible so I'm not running as much down the front stretch. And then really connecting that entry. So that's something that we're still working on quite a bit, is really lining up the entry, like getting over my right leg a bit before I enter.
Really?
And then, yep, and then going through the corners, I feel like that's something that I worked on a lot in the previous season, before the Olympic season, was getting my shoulders lined up through the turn. So I feel like that was kind of a big jump that I made in that season.
Where were they previously, when you say lined up?
Ryan, was I like kind of tilting a bit more into the turn?
Yeah, she would dip her left shoulder and the right side would come up and she would get twisted.
Yeah.
Because she was like in a fake lean, the left side of the body and shoulder would dip in and it wasn't connecting to the lower half of her body. So she would just get short and choppy and the pushes would start to go backwards.
Yeah. Like
it's kind of a carryover from inline. Yeah.
Right.
Ryan used to tell me, Dan, you're not leaning, you're tilting.
Yeah. Correct.
So I have the word however written down here. So in that World Cup fall, you won all those races in a row, but then you had a 6th, a 5th, and a 3rd, still really, really competitive and great. And then from there we jump to Olympic trials and we know about the slip on the backstretch, and eventually you made it to the games anyway. Did that have any effect on your confidence as you headed into Beijing?
No, not really, because I knew that was a fluke and not something that would pop up again. Like, I've done a ton of 500s and that was the first time it happened, so it didn't really get to me that much.
Okay. Well, and plus, I mean, it's not like, you don't have visibility into your skating. You're still training, you're still doing tempos, you still have a sense of where you're at. But I was just curious if, at one point in the fall there, it was like she's never going to lose another race. It was getting kind of boring, but it was nice of you to, let a few other people take one here and there.
Oh, so not specifically with Olympic trials, just like kind of winning, and then...
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I mean, that wasn't fun because I wanted to keep winning, of course, but... but yeah, I mean, it happens. I had some start issues. Which one? I don't know if it was both. I know the second one in Salt Lake, I got off the line a little strange, and
okay.
Yeah, I think I also just got tired. Yeah, it was a lot of racing.
Yeah.
And I always said, I mean, she hasn't done the Calgary Salt Lake City or Salt Lake City Calgary combo too many times, and even for skaters that, when skaters are new to that World Cup combo, it's deadly on the body.
Really?
The altitude, the forces, how fast you're going, it's very, very demanding on the body. And so even for the skaters who do it a lot or have done it a lot, you're only going to really do it like once a year or once every other year. And so you don't really get to adapt to it. You just got to know, like, afterwards, I'm going to be very tired and I have to pay close attention to my recovery mechanisms. I got to refuel properly. I can't be staying up late. I have to recover because it is brutal. Yeah.
Yeah. That's the first
I always say that
I've heard that. Go ahead.
Oh, yeah, sorry. I always say that I'm really lucky that I live and train in Salt Lake City, because I feel like if I lived elsewhere and then had to come race in Salt Lake City, it wouldn't be that great.
Yeah. So before we get into some other stuff here, it's been quite a ride in a relatively very short period of time, but when you look at your experience on ice so far, maybe this is just a really obvious question, but who have been the people that have had the biggest impact and left the biggest mark for you so far?
Well, yeah, definitely 100% Ryan there. Ryan's been my only coach since I've been on ice, minus I guess a 2-week camp with Matt when I first made the Olympic team. But yeah, Ryan's been my coach from the beginning, so definitely definitely the biggest impact there. And then my teammates, because they've just all been, super supportive and helpful. Especially the ones who came from inline too. Like they've been there, they've gone through it, so they've always had just like a ton of tips and things like that. Yeah, my two hometown buds, Brittany and Joey.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're always willing to help, so that's nice.
Are you sick of hearing questions about like what's in the water in Ocala, Florida?
No, because it gives me another chance to brag about my other amazing coach, Renee Hildebrand. So yeah, I've just been really lucky when it comes to coaches.
Yeah, interesting. So all we've talked about so far is the 500, and I decided to do a little bit of research and look at the thousands. And you made really significant progress last year compared to some of what you had done previously. I guess it's really kind of a two-part question. Is the 1,000 a focus for you right now? And I guess pursuant to that, is a world sprint championship something that you're thinking about or would like to try to go chase?
Yeah, the 1,000 is definitely a focus. Definitely going to work on getting better at that over the next couple of seasons. And yeah, I kind of I ran away from world sprints last year. Yeah, I had the opportunity to go, but I was kind of burnt out, after the games and wanted to go home for a little bit. But yeah, next time around, I'll probably be there, maybe.
Listen to that confidence. Probably. So Ryan, what does she need to do? I mean, are there very specific things that you're working on right now? Is it just a second lap fitness thing or a lactic profile? What is it?
Yeah, I mean, there's two focuses or three. Number one is developing the technique for the 1,000 or beyond, because 500 is a little bit different where you're just creating pressure the whole time. The 1,000 and 1,500 is a little bit different. You're creating pressure, but in obviously a slower tempo. And so learning how to carry speed without leg speed per se. So that's a little bit of a different, and it's not as instinctive in her skating. She has done it several times, so I know she can do it, but it's understanding the how and the why when she does it. Number two is learning the profile more and executing the profile more effectively and consistently of how to skate that race. And number three, just the mental side of it, because to me, the 1,000s, in a way, I mean, I might be biased, it's the most fun race because you get to experience the speed of the 500 and you get to enjoy it more. You get to enjoy it for a little bit longer. And the pain, it sets in for about 15 seconds or less. About 10 to 15 seconds is when it really hurts. So, it's not like the 1,500 where, 30 seconds out, 40 seconds out, you're like paying the price. So, So, but, I know she'll get there. This year she put it to me that the 1,000 wants to be a focus, a priority. So we're working slowly at it. We're not trying to jump in, gangbusters, but just developing her physiology so she can handle the training and slowly over the next quad bring that level up as well.
Gotcha. So we're gonna really shift gears here, Erin. So I just need you to explain to me what in the world I'm watching here, please. At least we get subtitles. So apparently you're a jammer. and that's roller
Where is
derby.
this?
So
This is the great sport of roller derby. I'm not sure where we are in that video, but yeah, it's a pretty complicated sport, I guess, but really super fun. There are two people who are the point scorers. I was one of them. Like, we start further back, like I guess to the left on the video. And then each team has 4 blockers, and they were the people kind of in that big group on the right side of the screen. And my job as a point scorer or a jammer is to make it through that big blob of people and, I don't know, not get hit or stopped or anything like that.
So there are
looks like football on skates.
Right, yeah. Yeah, it's pretty physical. So yeah, I just try to skate as many laps as I can to score points.
Gotcha. Well,
try to keep the other team from scoring points too.
It seems like roller derby is something that you still really like, and you know, again, in my research, I see a lot of you talking about it quite passionately. So it's still something that you like.
Yeah, super fun. Let's see, I've gotten to do a couple derby events this year. I went to Vegas and Ohio so far for some really fun things.
All right, so now I'm going to show you another image, and I want you to describe to us what in the world are we looking at here?
Nerd stuff.
So this was part of your senior thesis? And,
that equipment looks like it's from the 90s or something.
I know.
Was much more high tech.
Yeah, that's what was in the article, and it was quite flattering, though. I mean, the comments that were made by professors about your work being PhD level, I mean, that was clearly quite interesting, and you are still taking classes and picking up degrees here and there, and I guess really this is just sort of a big wind up to a bigger question. You know, you're not 20 years old right now, so do you have any idea what Erin Jackson looks like in 10 years?
Erin Jackson just turned 30 on Monday.
Happy birthday.
Yeah, thank you. 32 is my target age for having my life together. But since starting ice skating, I feel like I have to push it back a little bit because I'm still going to be skating in circles when I'm 32.
Yeah.
But yeah, my goal right now is to get a job in biomechanics. So I have a bachelor's degree from the University of Florida from back before I started ice skating, and that's in materials engineering. And then when I moved out to Salt Lake, I picked up an associate's in computer science, and I'm in the middle of one in kinesiology. And then also doing like business and finance in the summers. But yeah, definitely trying to get into biomechanics, but the bio side is what was missing, so that's why I'm in kinesiology now. I mean, if we get Salt Lake 2030, I'll have to see.
Oh boy.
Might have to go longer.
Is that in the works? Is that being talked about?
I think we're still in the running, yeah.
2030 or 2034?
I don't know about that one, but...
But as far as the games are, that's what they're looking at, those two years.
What I find interesting about when I do these is, you know, sometimes I know the person that I'm interviewing pretty well, and sometimes I kind of don't. And it was a really fun journey doing a little bit of research on you, Erin. I think you are, you're like everything that's great about sports.
I just want to say thanks. Yeah, really excited to see how this all, I don't know, gets put together. Yeah, it's been super fun. And yeah, I'll have to watch a couple more of your podcasts too. Well,
that's nice of you to say. I know you're pulled in a lot of directions, especially coming to Milwaukee. I know Ryan is fiercely defensive of your time, and I'm grateful that both of you spent a few minutes with me today. Great session. Learned a lot about you, and this is the Speed Skating Video Podcast, and we are out of here.